Imagine living 300,000 years ago. No private rooms, no locked doors, no noise-canceling headphones. You're stuck with 50 of your relatives. Eating together, sleeping together, 24/7. Wandering off to find some peace and quiet? You would instantly become a midnight snack for a pack of dire wolves. So, how did our introverted ancestors recharge in the middle of a loud, never-ending crowd? They didn't just endure it. They used 3 incredibly smart survival strategies. And I promise, strategy number 3 is the exact reason why you are still staying up until 3 a.m. today. Number 1. A prehistoric hunt. The extroverts are shouting. They hurl their spears. They cheer in pure adrenaline as they corner their prey. And the introverts, they stand in silence at the very edge of the forest. Not because they're cowards. Scientists call this phenomenon sensory processing sensitivity. The loud group craves chaos. That's how they recharge. But the introverts, their nervous systems are locked onto microsignals. They instinctively pull back from the noisy hunts. But it's precisely in that quiet space that their brain's hardware kicks in. They spot a single crushed leaf, and they catch a faint, musky scent drifting in the wind. But in prehistoric times, no one hands out a quiet corner for free. You had to buy it with your competence. Evolutionary psychology calls this strategy niche picking. They are sensitive, and they dodge the noise, and they forge that into absolute focus. They track the faintest footprints. They bring back the prey the loud hunting party let slip away. They sit in complete silence for hours just to carve the sharpest spearheads. Introversion here isn't a personality trait. It's a biological advantage. It carves out an irreplaceable role. Sound familiar? It's exactly how you operate today. You don't stand up and do all the talking in meetings. You retreat to the corner of the room. You become the programmer, the data analyst, or the writer. You quietly solve the grueling puzzles that the noisy brainstorming group gave up on. These specialized roles bought our ancestors peace during the day. But what about the night? When darkness falls and all 50 of those people cram together around a single tight campfire. Number 2. This is when they deployed their next strategy, the art of invisibility. Many people think sitting around a campfire is a time to calm the mind. But science says no. The campfire was humanity's first theater. That's when the extroverts shone. They took turns telling stories, reenacting the morning's hunt, laughing and dancing wildly. So what did the introverts do? They couldn't pull back any further. Leaving the firelight meant becoming prey for wild beasts. So they chose to isolate themselves right in the middle of the crowd. They took on 2 roles at once: the invisible audience and the firekeeper. First, every theater needs an audience. That noisy group needed spectators to satisfy their egos. The introverts happily provided that. They sat in silence. They listened. They absorbed every survival secret. All of it. Without breaking a sweat to fight for the spotlight. And to avoid being dragged into the festivities, they used humanity's first noise-canceling technology, the fire. They grabbed a branch, quietly poking at the coals. They glued their eyes to the flickering flames. This wasn't a subconscious act at all. Anthropologist Christopher Lynn has decoded this. Staring into a fire lowers blood pressure. It forces the brain straight into an alpha wave state. It's a form of open-eyed meditation. You're still sitting there, but your mind and your nervous system have shut their doors to rest. You just let the crowd burn through their own social energy. It's exactly like how you attend an overly loud party today. You don't leave early to avoid offending anyone. How you choose to be the invisible audience. You quietly slip out to the balcony, play with the host's dog, or silently take on the task of manning the BBQ grill. The prehistoric campfire was the very first pair of AirPods. It helped your ancestors broadcast a very clear signal. I'm still here, but please don't talk to me. Number 3. When the extroverts finally drain their batteries and fall asleep, the theater closes its curtains. But the fire is never allowed to go out. It needs someone to watch over it. This is when the final strategy appears, and it is practically a biological superpower. Their sleep schedules were shifted. Anthropologists call this the Sentinel hypothesis. To prove it, they went all the way to Tanzania to study the Hadza tribe, one of the rare hunter-gatherer groups that still maintain the exact same lifestyle as our ancestors. And they discovered a truth. The tribe evolved to never sleep at the same time. Their circadian rhythms are intentionally offset. The sole purpose: someone must always be awake. Imagine this scene. The entire cramped camp is snoring loudly. The introvert quietly takes the night watch. Enveloping darkness. Absolute silence. For the extroverts, staying up to keep watch in the deep forest is pure torture. But for a nervous system exhausted by the noise of the pack, it's an oasis. It is the only time of day they have complete ownership of their own psychological space. That strangely peaceful feeling of staying up until 3 a.m. when the whole world is fast asleep. And you're all alone binge-watching a show, listening to music, or simply staring into space. People often say it's a bad habit. But no, it is the call of your DNA. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, your ancestors also stayed up until 3 a.m. They also craved this peace and quiet. The only difference is, they were staring down saber-toothed tigers while you are glued to your screen. Prehistoric times were a brutal world. There was no room for weakness, but the pack didn't cast the introverts aside. On the contrary, they valued those quiet moments. Because the survival of the entire tribe depended on meticulously carved spears, it depended on keen eyes reading the prey's tracks, and it depended on absolute alertness in the dead of the silent night. So, the next time someone wonders why you are so quiet, or tells you to be more outgoing, don't let it bother you. Remember, it was your calm brain that kept our ancestors alive through the Stone Age, and you are a master survival machine.